Today we're talking about jute webbing and how to install that on your seat frames. I've got two different styles of seat frames to demonstrate on, and luckily you don't need many tools for this process, so it's a great little DIY project. Stick around, we'll show you all the details. Wee willy weaves, wee willy woves, wee willy staples, but he won't go home. So I'll be demonstrating these techniques on integral upholstery where the jute webbing is attached directly to the frame of the furniture, as well as a slip seat where there's a frame with jute webbing installed, and then that in turn gets installed into the chair or furniture piece. Both work really well. It just depends on the type of furniture you have, and the process is very similar for each. The tools you need are very few. You really need a webbing stretcher, a big roll of jute webbing, and an upholstery stapler, or you can use tacks and a tack hammer if you prefer. We'll start with the loose frame technique because you'll run into this situation a lot more often. This would be the case if you had a cushion cover that was wrapped down and stapled under a frame and you wanted a nice jute webbing base. Or maybe there was a jute base that was trimmed out in leather or your finished fabric and then a loose cushion was applied on top. For both of these situations, these techniques will apply. Cut short scraps of jute webbing to help quickly determine your layout. Looks like 5 strips, both front to back and side to side, will do the trick in this case. My seat frame has a cleat and I want that to have a nice firm bearing surface there, so I've marked a line. And that'll be my setback line for the jute webbing. We'll double things over and just get that started on one side. Fine wire upholstery staples here. You can use tacks and a tack hammer if you prefer. There's a few different styles of webbing stretchers available. This one's called a gooseneck stretcher and it's the style that I prefer, but hey, whatever works for you. I just like that you can easily slide it in from the side and just begin to develop some tension across that webbing. Do remember that there's an upper limit there. You want to have the slack pulled out, but you don't want it so tight that it would actually bend or distort your frame. Trim off the end, leaving a little bit of slack so that you can double that over and lay it down as before. If you're looking for upholstery tools and accessories, remember to drop down to the description box. There I'll have links for you. These are all my favorite tools and products I use every day in the workshop. You'll also find links to any videos there. Sometimes I'll have an adjunct video that I want to refer you to, and I might put a link on screen. If you don't want to take the time to watch it right then, after the video's over, just drop down to the description box. Those links are there for you as well. So I'm just working from the main roll here, and that's something that I recommend you do just to avoid wasting any of that jute webbing. Get a first row of staples in. And again, these are the 1/2 inch length upholstery staples, and I guarantee you these will never come loose. Whether you're using tacks or staples, when this jute webbing fails, it'll be in about 100 or 110 years, and it'll break in the middle of the strap. I know that because I've pulled apart enough antique chairs, and that's where they always seem to fail, is just in the middle of the strap. But hey, if you get a good 100 years out of the jute webbing, this is a material that I trust, and if you're doing a seat frame application, look for the red stripe variety of jute webbing. For back frame, you'll want to use the black stripe variety. If one or more of my videos has been helpful to you, consider subscribing to the channel. If nothing else, just give the video a thumbs up or drop me a line in the comment section. Any way that you feel comfortable engaging with me with these woodworking or upholstery topics is always greatly appreciated. Even if it's a question like, how do I upholster a Morris chair? Drop me a line. I bet I might have a video link for you. One thing that a lot of people don't know, or maybe they never thought of, is you can actually install the webbing on either the top or the bottom side of the frame. In this application, the webbing's installed on the bottom of the frame, and that's just to leave another inch for padding on the top side. Another thing you want to do is trim away any holes created by the webbing stretcher. Okay, we're installing the last strip in the front to back direction, and of course you have to have this frame clamped down to a bench to generate this kind of tension. Otherwise the whole thing will just kind of flop up in your face. And then to install the side-to-side strips, really the only thing you could do wrong is forget to weave the pattern, but the basic idea is you want to alternate top to bottom from one strip to the next, and that just lets you enhance strength from the neighboring strips of jute webbing. Now on the sides of the seat frame, I don't have the cleats to worry about as this sets into the chair. Those are only on the front and back. So for the sides, what I'll do is I'll make use of a little bit more of the seat frame to install this first strip. Now I've rotated the frame 90 degrees to fix the other end. So lace the second strip the opposite direction to gain extra strength. And just stand back and get some perspective. Make sure that you've laced the second strip the right way. Then you can anchor one side, stretch it, and repeat the process till you're down at the other end. Now my advice for staple guns is to skip the hand-powered or electric-powered staplers. They just don't have the power to set the staples flush. Jump up to a professional upholstery stapler, something that's a 22 gauge fine wire upholstery stapler. You need to be able to drive staples in the 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch range. And for seat frames and jute webbing, of course, you'll be using the longer 1/2 inch variety. But drop down to the description box, you'll find links to all my favorite tools. Wee Willie weaves, wee Willie woves, wee Willie staples, but he won't go home. And if you're a belts and suspenders sort of individual, you can throw a couple tacks in as well. I don't really think this step is necessary, but if you like the rule of overkill, knock yourself out. Just make sure to offset your tacks so you don't create a split in the frame. If you plan on doing any upholstery, you get yourself a CS Osborne magnetic tack hammer. It's a great tool and it'll last you a lifetime. So that's the technique if your seat frame is detachable from your chair, and it's really my preferred method. The other way, I suppose, is a plywood base, and it's not something I really go for, but if you're just doing a slim 2-inch cushion on a dining chair, I suppose that could be appropriate. Since the project today is a large, oversized armchair, we really want to have that forgiving base. The next step up would be a sprung cushion, either with 8-way hand-tied springs, or one I like to use quite often is zigzag springs. So we'll link up to installation techniques if you decide on a sprung cushion. I'll show you how to install those zigzag springs, but for most DIY folks, this is going to be the sweet spot. Go with the half-lap frame and just simple jute webbing. Okay, next up is applying jute webbing in an integral sense, where the webbing is attached directly to an ottoman in this case, or maybe it would apply to a rocking chair in your case. If you're interested in doing this specific project, this is an Eastwood style ottoman from early Stickley Designs, and you can find the complete woodworking build on this project in Popular Woodworking. It went into the December 2022 issue. That was issue number 268. So we'll link up to the video on the full upholstery process for this build, but today we're just looking at how to attach jute webbing. If you're using typical 3.5 inch wide webbing, you can get 4 strips across the long side and 3 strips across the short side of this ottoman. Put away the tacks on this one, because driving large tacks into these rails really risks splitting the wood. Now if I split the wood on a frame that's separate from my project, well, I can rebuild that frame in a half a day. If I split the rails on this, I've got to build a whole new project. One of the differences here is we're not going to double up the strips, and that's just because the upholstery on this will wrap over the side rails of the ottoman, and we don't want to telegraph that bump through the upholstery. So we'll stay about a 1/2 inch from the leg and about 1 inch from the bottom of this curved rail. If you've got curved rails and you really want to get an even pull with the webbing stretcher, you can temporarily attach your cutoff in that space and it'll give an even bearing for the stretcher. Just like before, work from the roll, generate a little bit of tension, and staple it off. I like to go to the far side next so I can position that jute webbing strap in place, about a 1/2 inch off the leg, and draw that one down taut. Then just place the last 2 strips equidistant between the outer strips. With the first direction complete, we'll go ahead and weave 3 straps the opposite way. Again, I'd like to stay about a 1/2 inch from the leg and around 1 inch from the bottom of the rail. Back on the other side, we'll work from the roll as always and see what kind of tension we can develop this way. Yeah, that's starting to feel pretty good. We'll go ahead and staple that off. And again, really the only thing you can do wrong is forgetting to alternate your weave, and believe me, I've done it on occasion, so don't get ahead of yourself. Just make sure that you're alternating your weave. If this one goes on top of the adjacent strip, this one should go underneath. Those offcuts can really help you eyeball your spacing. And I think the mistake most people make if they don't have a jute webbing stretcher is they make the straps too loose, but as soon as they have that webbing stretcher, the first mistake they make is going a little tight. So you just want to hit that happy medium. Okay, so we've anchored that far side and we'll get ready to apply some tension to this last strap. Yeah, just about like that. Feels really good. Alright guys, there's a couple of examples of how to apply jute webbing, whether that's a loose seat frame or something that's integral to the piece of furniture that you're building. Remember to drop down to the description box. We've got some great resources for you there, from just basic links for upholstery tools that you might be interested in if you're just getting into upholstery, to some videos of more advanced techniques like applying zigzag springs or advanced leather sewing techniques. Either way, subscribe to the channel. We're glad you stopped by, and I hope you get another Saturday you can spend with me. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Wee Willie weaves, wee Willie woves, wee Willie staples, but he won't go home.